All right, Grand Rising, my fellow Eternals or Ethernals from the ether. Welcome back to another sunny Sunday of the One Great I Am Awakening. I'm Chris Taylor, one of your hosts, and with me is my partner in spirit and in mind, Mr. Gregory Isaac Thomas, also known as Sir T. Sir T, are you still? How am there?
Greetings. Actually, I
Okay.
was trying to find that unmute button there.
Okay. All right, you found it.
It's a pleasant day. Now, getting started one more time, going within.
Mm.
The art was should and interesting topic to discuss this morning, so Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting as it's different. It's not any different from anything else that we discussed per se, but interesting in terms of the way it relates. You know, saying that our conscious mind is there it is the only instruction that the subconscious mind will accept or receive.
Hmm.
What what comes out of our deliberate conscious, it becomes our business to control
Yes.
the conscious mind. Do it fearlessly. That is the key. Now. The key is fearless. If you approach it with fear, then you're still gonna get it, but you're gonna fear the results that you're gonna get. And if you approach it with love, still gonna get it. You're gonna love the results that you will get. So,
Love how you word that, Sir T. It's absolutely true. And it relates to our topic today that your conscious mind is the measurement by which your consciousness obeys or follows or is uh, guided. You understand? So this is why we have to be very, very, as Sir T just mentioned, um, careful, attentive to what our conscious mind is doing. And it relates to the story of Jesus when he was walking around with the 12 disciples. You understand? So we're going to get into that too as we discuss this topic today. Very, very interesting topic, as you said, Sir T, because it's really going to what this topic is all about is to be disciplined, is to become disciples um, of our consciousness, okay, and to discipline ourselves and become apostles, so much so that we can actually know, just always being aware of what we are entertaining or entertaining, I like to say. You understand? Whatever you're allowing to enter into your consciousness. So I have a very short audio from the great and late Dr. Joseph Murphy. Um, Very short video. So we're just going to play it out and come back and discuss our findings. All right. But it's very, very powerful. And I think his is titled The Subconscious Mind is Your Friend or Your Help Mate or Help Meet, as scripture termed it. Even though in scripture it was given a different name or many different names, but um, these are all symbolic writings. So you just have to understand how to pick up on it. So let me find the audio and come right back. Let me see. Okay, here we go. This thing better move. All right, where is it? This is in the way. All right. So here we are, Dr. Joseph Murphy, the subconscious, your friend. Okay? Short video, so we're going to listen to it, and we're going to come right back and discuss our findings. Take a listen.
There is one mind common to all individual men. They are merely two spheres of activity within one mind. There are not two minds. Your conscious mind is the reasoning mind. It is that phase of mind which chooses, weighs, dissects, analyzes, investigates, scrutinizes, comes to conclusions and decisions. For example, you choose your books, your home, your partner in life. You make all your decisions with your conscious mind. On the other hand, without any conscious choice on your part, your heart is kept functioning automatically, and the process of digestion, circulation, and breathing are carried on by your subconscious mind through processes independent of your conscious control. Your subconscious mind accepts what is impressed upon it, or what you consciously believe. It does not reason out things like your conscious mind. It's a one-track mind. It does not argue with you controversially. Your subconscious mind is like the soil, which accepts any kind of idea, good or bad. Your thoughts are active and might be likened unto seeds. Negative, destructive thoughts continue to work negatively in your subconscious mind, and in due time will come forth into outer experience, which corresponds with them. Remember, your subconscious mind does not engage in proving whether your thoughts are good or bad, true or false, but it responds according to the nature of your thoughts or suggestions. For example, if you consciously assume something to be true, even though it may be false, your subconscious mind will accept it as true and proceed to bring about results which must necessarily follow because you consciously assumed it to be true. Your subconscious mind cannot argue controversially. Hence, if you give it wrong suggestions, it will accept them as true and will proceed to bring them to pass as conditions, experience, and events. Your subconscious mind is oftentimes referred to as your subjective mind. Your subjective mind takes cognizance of its environment by means independent of the five senses. Your subjective mind perceives by intuition. It is the seat of your emotion and the storehouse of memory. Your subjective mind performs its highest functions when your objective senses are in abeyance. In a word, it is that intelligence which makes itself manifest when the objective mind is suspended or in a sleepy, drowsy state. Your subjective mind sees without the use of the natural organs of vision. It has the capacity of clairvoyance and clairaudience. Your subjective mind can leave your body, travel to distant lands, and bring back information oftentimes of the most exact and truthful character. Through your subjective mind, you can read the thoughts of others, read the contents of sealed envelopes and closed safes. Your subjective mind has the ability to apprehend the thoughts of others without the use of the ordinary objective means of communication. It is of the greatest importance that we understand the interaction of your objective and subjective mind in order to learn the true art of prayer. When your conscious and subconscious mind function harmoniously and peacefully, when they work together in unison and in harmony, the result of that is harmony, health, and peace, and joy, and happiness. All the evil, the pain, the suffering, the misery, and the war, and the crime, and the sickness in the world are due to the inharmonious relationship of your conscious and subconscious mind. Remember, we said your subconscious is impersonal, non-selective. In the Bible, it says the husband is head of the wife. The husband in the Bible is your conscious mind, and the wife is called the subconscious in the Bible. That's not true from a literal standpoint, but it's true psychologically only. Your subconscious is controlled by your conscious mind. It's amenable to suggestion and controlled by it. So the wife, your subconscious, is subject to the man or to the mind, and conscious mind in all things. That's true psychologically only. Whatever your conscious mind, remember, feels to be true, your subconscious accepts. Your capacity to imagine and feel, and your freedom to choose the idea you will entertain, gives you power over all creation. Do not dwell on the imperfections and shortcomings of others, or their frailties, or their derelictions. Why? because whatever you think and feel about another, you create in your own mind, body, and circumstances. Ask yourself, would I like to live with what I'm thinking and wishing for the other? If you would, well, if the answer is in the affirmative.
Sign up to You Are Creators.
All right, and we're back. As promised, very short video or audio of Dr. Joseph Murphy. The video was titled "The Subconscious, Your Friend." You can also add to it your helpmate, helper, or helpmeet, meaning that it's going to meet you where you are consciously, or the conscious mind. That's why it is called a helpmeet. It's going to meet you right where you are. Um, Whatever you think is true to you is what the subconscious is going to meet you at. These two ends are going to meet, as I say, making two ends meet. The first end is the conscious mind, and the other end that comes to meet the subconscious, the conscious mind, is the subconscious, the helper, the helpmate, or the helpmeet in this case. It's a loop that it brings it together and make it one. That's how electricity work. The hot and the neutral. The hot is the conscious and the neutral is the subconscious. But they have to come together to make a loop, to create the current, or to energize the thing that you're putting together, or the thing that you are planning to use, such as a microwave or the TV, the refrigerator. All these things are controlled by those two source, one hot, one neutral. And of course, you have the ground. But besides that, these are the two that even if the ground is not connected, the appliance still works. The ground is for a different thing, to send any current to the ground should there be some kind of interference electrically, or a shock would not shock you, it would go to the ground. That's the only purpose of the ground, really, electrically speaking. But these two are in direct correlation with how our consciousness works. So I'm just putting that out to show you like a physical identification, or an objective way that you can analyze how your consciousness works. Okay? But no matter how much, if you have the one side, the hot in this case, if it's if this if the neutral is not connected, you're not going to get any power, or vice versa. You're not going to get that loop that is trying to create. So it's the same thing with your consciousness. Okay? If you are not consciously aware that there's another side of you that follows directly what you're doing, that's when you create all these chaotic things that are happening, as Joseph Murphy mentioned. So as I alluded to earlier, the story of in the Bible, in the New Testament, with the disciples, the 12 disciples, and Jesus, where Jesus would go around and collectively organize these 12 disciples. And the purpose of that, what they call disciples, is that you are disciplining these 12, that allow things to enter your consciousness. The consciousness now is represented by Jesus. The totality of your awareness or your consciousness is this Jesus we're talking about here. Your absolute power. Okay? also, as we named there, never alluded to, your imagination. So you are affecting your consciousness by the way you use your conscious mind. And these 12 disciples, they directly represent the conscious mind. And this is why you're asked to discipline them, because your conscious mind is the measurement by which your consciousness obeys. In other words, whatever you allow to go into your consciousness, not or to impress or impregnate your consciousness, is what it is going to return to you. Okay? Whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, whether you are conscious that you're doing it or not. Because as the tape mentions here, that the subconscious mind does not argue, does not reason. It's not a logical mind. It accepts everything as what you desire. It's a one-track mind. It doesn't go both ways. It only cut one way. Okay? And if it's not, it doesn't see anything as bad or even good. Everything to it just is. It is the experience you're having in which you will determine or give it a name, if it's bad or good. The conscious mind is the mind that know um, gives the idea or the concept a nature, and the return of it will always match that nature that you give it. In other words, if it's something bad or slash evil, then the experience is going to be just the same. The return can't be anything different. If it's good, meaning that the nature that the conscious mind gave it, then it cannot be anything but good that will return to you. So this is the measurement by which your consciousness gives back to you what you first gave to yourself. Certi.
Yes, sir, Chris. Am I coming through clearly?
Loud and clear.
I think, what is happening here is we weren't always aware of this law.
Mm-mm.
The law is still gonna work whether you're aware of it or not. So the law was always working in the background, but adversely to our desires because we're not skillful with the law. We didn't know this law of consciousness. We were socialized to believe that you have to work hard,
Mhm.
pray, and then hope that things turn out the way we want it.
Mhm.
Now that we are aware that we are the ones who's doing the initiation, it's what you initiate, that's what goes out there. And the subconscious mind, otherwise known as the self, or some people call it God, has
Mhm.
ways of creating the desired situation and bring it back to you in a tangible form. So we are aware of that now. That's what the law is. The law is you put out intangible vibration via emotions, thoughts, etc. out there, and the subconscious mind has multiple ways of manufacturing that thing and bringing it come to your tangible. When I
Mhm.
say that, we're not just talking about the material things, I'm talking about experiences.
Mhm.
I'll come back to you. No, now that we are aware of the law, what happens now is we have to also know that the thoughts, the ideas that's running through your head, those are not your thoughts. The program that's running in the background, I'm talking when you are not consciously thinking,
Mhm.
going about, you did wash the clothes, or even talking on this program, and some ideas are running in the background of your mind.
Mhm.
Those thoughts that are just running loosely, wild in the background of your mind, those are not your thoughts. Those are not you. That's not you, and those are not your thoughts. The the things that are running through, that are running non-stop through your mind, those are that's the mind and the thought of the program that's running that there's a program that is running subconsciously, unconsciously in the background at all times. That voice that is telling you all these things, that's the voice of your parents, the voice of your teachers, the voice of the people them will criticize you, the voice of the people them that have hurt you and some is it's the voice of all of that. It's the voice of the people who have praised you, the voice of the people. All of that comes as a conglomerate and it's always running in the background of your mind. Those are not your thoughts. You don't have to yield to them. You don't have to surrender to them. And what you should not do is follow them. Never you follow a thought. Let me say that again. Never follow an idea that just flash in your mind. Because the origination of that idea did not come from you. The origination of that idea is coming from the program that's running in the background. I do not hear how fabulous the idea seems. I do not care how lucrative it appears to be. Never follow a thought. Initiate a thought and then follow it. That's called a plan. When you initiate a thought and then follow that thought, build on it, it's called a plan. You are the maker of that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that's just randomly running through, if you notice the thought that's just randomly running through your mind, it is usually very incoherent.
Mm.
It's kind of confusing because it's coming out of the mind of many, not just yours. Like me say, it's your teachers, your parents, the people who criticize you, the people who praise you, the whole ass is always running in the background of your mind. They try to follow it, it's leading you in all kind of places. But
Mm.
when you initiate a thought, like you wake up this morning and say, all right, the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go into the bathroom and I'm gonna talk to myself in the mirror, and then I'm gonna come back out and I'm gonna brush my teeth with my left hand and I'm gonna that's you are the one initiating that. And you follow that. That's called a plan. Now, when you do that, when you follow your own initiation, or lead it, not follow it, lead it where you want it to go, your own thought pattern where you want it to go. That is leading, always going to be leading to the manifestation that you desire for yourself. So you lead that thought and then and to where you want it to go. Don't follow a thought that just flashes in your head randomly. A thought that just flashes in your head randomly did not come from you, and that's why the results that come from it is usually not pleasing to you. Because that thought is the word in a circle for all of that. I'm talking the voice of your parents, the voice of your teachers, the voice of your enemies, the voice of your friends, the voice. What that has built is a character called your ego. And your ego, the voice that's running in the background of your mind, is not your voice. It's the voice of your ego. Don't follow it. Don't follow it. The idea that comes originally out of your head, that's your thought. That's your idea. That's what's going to lead to your greater development and to the greater experiences and the greater emotions that you see. Do not get lost in the multiple confusing thoughts of your ego. Don't do that. That is like you're sending a conflicting, confusing message to yourself, to your subconscious mind, otherwise known as the self. You're sending a conflicting message to the self when you do that. All right? Be mindful and be aware of that. That the whole of them things that we see are going through your head. You don't have to listen to not one of them because it's not coming from you. Anything that's just randomly going through your head, you can just break. You don't have to listen to it. It's not you. The voice that keeps telling you, well, remember, say you're not qualified enough. So that's how your teacher used to tell you. And your mother used to tell you that, and people in my road used to tell you, say, if you keep doing that, you're not promote to nothing. So when them ideas you run through your head, that's not your thoughts, that's people after that. So be mindful and aware of that.
Thank you so much, Serti, for that reminder. That what you're really saying is that anything that we didn't originate, um, but is a flash or some kind of a spontaneous thought or pattern, um, you can always follow it back to its origin, because you always remember who said this to you and said that to you, whatever the case may be. Um, and sometimes it's not even directly or it was directed at you. It could be something that you are entertaining some way, somehow, but um, for some reason you have like an emotional attachment to it. And so you're saying that, which is great advice. If it's not something that you originated, then do not, attach yourself to it or think that it's coming from you because you're not aware of it. That might seem to be true, the fact that it's come to your awareness within yourself, so it would seem as if it's coming directly from you. So I can see where we misconstrue that point or that point of contact with that thought and whatnot. You can you know misconstrue that to be something that is you or from you. But as you're saying, you identify it, and if it does not match what you feel or think about yourself or the direction you're planning to go, then you discard it. You know. But if it's something that is in alignment with something that you definitely want to experience or indulge yourself with, then you proceed. So I understand that clearly, Sir T, and that's a great advice. And to the topic we're talking about today, your conscious mind is the measurement by which your consciousness obeys. To your point, Sir T, if you if you're accepting, these background thoughts to come to the forefront and lead the conscious mind into accepting them as true or true of you, then your consciousness has no choice but to give you that which you are now believing yourself to be. This is what you're being, or you are emotionalizing. You become emotionally attached to it, and so therefore, being that your subconscious mind is the emotional mind or the mind that reacts to the feeling of the conscious mind. However you are consciously feeling, it becomes the response is now heightened by the subconscious, because that is the language of your subconscious mind. Remember last week we talked about the four principles, or the fourfold nature of man, which is really the fourfold nature of consciousness itself, is also the fourfold nature of man. Because remember, man, being male and female, is made in the image and likeness. So if man is made in the image and likeness, therefore, whatever consciousness is, that's what man is. That's how man operates in that exact order. The issue is, um, when we are not aware of the nature of our consciousness, or how it is supposed to be, the process of it, or the order in which it's supposed to be used. This is when we conflict with our desires or with what we are entangled with, because we're not we're putting the carriage before the horse, so to speak, in most cases. They are still together, but the order is backwards. You understand? But when you know the order in which you're supposed to operate, just as the consciousness um, indefinitely and absolutely operates, then you're able to have an easier way of flowing or carrying out, the operation of consciousness, because you're operating this power at all times, and the power does not operate itself. You understand? In other words, electricity is the power, but it doesn't operate itself until you plug something up into it. Then it goes into operation. Until then, it's just potential power. But if you plug the wrong component into an outlet, something that requires 12 volts, and you plug it into a 120 outlet, it's going to burn up because they're not compatible, even though it's using the same power as the 12 volts would use. But it has to be a measurement in which the power will work properly. And that is to say, the conscious mind is this exact thing. Based on how the conscious mind is operating or is accepting things or belief or your belief level or whatnot, this is how the power is going to operate itself. It's going to generate in the same sequence as the conscious mind is generating. Yes, sir. T, go ahead. Sir
Yes,
T?
yes. I just wanted to touch on the twofold nature that you described, that consciousness has, and man being created in the image of consciousness. Because keep in mind, and I don't even like to use the word create. Man is designed. Man is designed in the image and likeness of consciousness, which is what they say. What you would say God is conscious.
Hmm.
Comes in two parts, twofold: conscious mind and subconscious.
Yeah.
And man, designed just the same, comes in two parts. There is the ego and there's the self. There's the ego and there's the self. The ego is lightened onto the conscious mind. The self is lightened onto the subconscious mind. The only sin, to borrow a word from religion, the only sin that a man can commit is when you go against yourself. The sin of going against yourself, meaning the experience that it's like walking west trying to go east.
Hmm.
That is the only of it, going against yourself. In other words, trying to get a law to work adverse, opposite from how the law is, because the law simply is. That's when you sin. Sin is to miss the mark, and you miss the mark because you misuse the law. Simple as that. Sin,
Yeah.
sin, when broken down, the definition of sin is to miss the mark. Well, you miss the mark because you misuse the law. Misuse of the law is the only sin. No, misuse of the law is going against the self, meaning the ego. You're going with the ego and going against the self. When we grew up in the Caribbean, they may have this saying that when a man says something to you, a man says, like he's asking you to say the truth, to speak the truth, he would say, please God and shame the devil.
Yeah.
You say, yeah man, please God and shame the devil. Please God by going with the self. You shame the devil by going against the ego. If
Hmm.
you go the other way with it, if you go against yourself and go with the ego, now you're sin. You're
Mm.
sin. You're gonna get the opposite of what you think you're going. All right. So it is a very similar thing. The consciousness is divided into conscious, subconscious, and conscious. Man is divided into, you have the ego and you have the self. Now we have to know these things. The one that has all the power in the realm of consciousness is the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind has all the power. The conscious mind has all the authority. Similar thing when it comes to man. The self has all the power, but the ego has all the authority. Because it is the ego that defines what you're trying to objectify. It is the ego that decides what you want.
Yeah.
Have the power to bring it forward, to bring it forth. The
No.
self has the power to bring it forth.
Mm-hmm.
Decide. The conscious mind decides, but it doesn't have the power to bring anything. The subconscious mind that has the power. So we have to know now these things, that you don't go against the self at any. Brethren, there's something, that's why them say greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. The self is within, the ego is what is expressed, is what's on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Greater is what is within than what is on the outside. So you don't ever go with what is on the outside. Don't follow the ego mind. Don't follow the conscious mind. Lead it. You lead your ego mind, you don't follow it. You lead your conscious mind, you don't follow it. You don't allow your conscious mind to just keep running all over the place and you are follow behind. You lead it in a particular direction. Same thing. It's the ego. Same thing. The ego wants to do what it wants. Because keep in mind that the ego is an actor. You know? The ego is not real. You know? The ego is an actor pretending to be the self.
Mm-hmm.
Personality that you wear on the outside, that everybody know you to be. The guy that everybody know and call that guy Mark or Devon. That's your ego personality. They've never met the self of you. Not even you. Well, I think you're starting to meet yourself now. But you are just now starting to meet the self of you. Everything that you thought you were and that everybody still think you are, that's your ego personality. That's not you. And you do not lean into that ego personality. You lean into the self of who you are. How do you differentiate and know what is coming from the ego mind different from what is coming from the self? The self is pure love. The self wants no, let's say the self, let's say the ego mind wants a house. The ego mind wants a house. The self has the power to provide the house. It is the ego mind that's now gonna say, I want a 14-bedroom house. The self has no desire for not even one bedroom.
Mm.
It's the ego that has the desire. But the minute you see it start going overboard, you know that this thing is ego concentrated. Don't follow it. The minute you see something starts to point to me, that's the ego. Don't follow it. Now, anything that tells you that, oh, but why, how come she did this, or how come he did that, and now I am, the self is never hurt. It's only the ego that gets hurt.
Mm.
Because the ego is an actor, is a pretender, is an imposter. The ego, see, we didn't always know this, you know. When I say we, I'm talking every human being. Nobody comes into this world knowing the twofold dimension that there is an actor inside of you acting as you. We don't know. We don't come into this world knowing this kind of stuff. Now, once you learn this, once you find this out, your job becomes to make the ego decrease Remember when John the Baptist said, "He must decrease, I must decrease, so that Christ can increase." It is the ego
Yes.
self that has to decrease, so that the self can increase. So the ego, the minute you find the ego within you, it becomes your job to make that ego decrease. The minute you find out that there's a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, it is your job to make sure that that conscious mind humble on himself so that the subconscious mind can emerge. You have to get to a point where you realize that I have found the enemy within me. There is no enemy on the outside. Scripture says, a man's enemies shall be those of his household. It's not talking about your children and your wife. It's talking about the ego mind within you. That's your only enemy. You have no other enemy. The enemy is within, and it's the ego mind within you. And the savior is also within. It is the self within you. That's why I've always said it in commandment one of all commandments should be, thou shalt be selfish. Not in a selfish way.
You said those shall be selfish.
Thou shalt be selfish. Yeah, man. You should be zoned. You should be so zoned into yourself to the
Mm.
point ego has to decrease. But we are not. We are not selfish. We are egotistic. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. You know, people might think them similar, but it's not. It's a totally different thing. You know? Thou shalt be selfish. Don't be egotistic.
Yeah, man, I like how you word that, your wordsmith with that, Sir T. It's it's right on point.
So you know, these are things that we just have to be aware of. That within you, you have a creator, which is the self, and a destroyer, which is the ego. That's all. The ego, another thing that you will know when it's your ego. The ego thrives on fear, pain, pity, victim mentality. The ego likes to be the victim, like to play the victim. The ego likes pain. The ego thrives on fear. The ego only enjoys things that are fearful, but the self is fearless. And both of them are indwelling in you. So whenever time you find yourself floating into this victim mentality thing, like, oh God, I can't believe she did this, or why, how the hell could he do that? And that's your ego. Cut it. Cut it right there. Why are you cutting it? Because he must decrease so that I can increase. You notice who said that? John the Baptist said that of the Christ, of the Jesus that was coming. He said, at the time John the Baptist was seen as a matter of fact, Jesus said it. Jesus said, every man born of a woman, that's the ego part of mankind that he's talking about. He said, of every man born of a woman, there is none greater than John the Baptist. Nevertheless, he that is the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than John. So, let me say it again. Sir Chris just got dropped off. You come right back. Jesus said, of every man, ego personality he's talking about, of every ego personality, there is none greater than John the Baptist. Yet, the least in the kingdom of heaven, which is the self, is greater than he, is greater than the great John the Baptist. And what did John the Baptist say? John the Baptist say, I, the ego self, must decrease so that he, the self, the true self, must increase. Because the ego self is an imposter. The ego self is an actor, it's a pretender. And it is doing the job so well of pretending to be you that even you, for most of your life, thought that that was who you are. You think that the girl in the ribbon and the pretty blouse and the whatever going to school who who got all the praises because of how neat and how smart she was. You thought that that's who you were. No, that's a girl pretending to be you. And now that you found that, you must kill that girl before she dies. Let me say it again. Now that you found this ego personality within you who's acting as you must kill that ego before it dies. When I say before it dies, I mean before you die a natural death. Your job is to put that ego under your feet. That becomes responsibility number one. That is something that you must do daily. When scripture say, I die daily, that's what the writer is talking about. That's why we say here at the One Great I Am Awakening program that scripture is true, but it's not real. It's not based in reality. It's based in truism. When you understand the truth that it is talking about, not the truth that religion teaches, the truth of consciousness. So we know now that we are aware of these things now, the impetus is upon us to operate this law skillfully. Be reminded again that scripture says this way again. The first man is of the earth, earthy. That's the ego man. That's the first man you identified with. That's who you thought you were for a long time. The first man is of the earth, earthy. Natural, meaning it's earthy, meaning made of earth material. The second man, however, is the Lord from heaven. That second man is the self that you've now come to know. Now that you know that there is a self that is separate from the ego. The, the parable of the prodigal son, the selfish prodigal son who left and went out on his own, detached himself from the self, from the true self. The ego in the prodigal son led him away where he went out and he started living lavishly on things, on money that was not even his. Daddy money. That's the ego. But it tells you that after a while, started to struggle and suffer out there. And scripture says, until he came to himself. He came to the self, meaning he wake up and realize that there is a self separate from this ego. This ego is suffering and eating pig feed and suffering out there. That's the ego. But when he came to himself, what did he say? I will return. To return means that you had been there before. I will return to my father. See, when you were born, there was no program running in the background of your mind. When you were 3 years old, 2 years old, there was no program running in the background of your mind. The program wasn't set as yet. The program was being constructed. Your mother did build the program, and your big brother them and your uncle and the people them in the yard until you started that school, then teacher start. Once you started going to school, teacher and other people start to become a part of the programming. But when you were born, you were purely yourself. You were just the self. This is why a baby is not embarrassed if he run up and down in a yard naked. And everybody else can be about it. The kid picking up here. He has no ego. The child has no ego. The child is purely self. And that's what you have to return to. Except a man be born again and become humble like a child, he shall never inherit the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is that purity, that pure state of purely being the self. Because the self has all power and desires nothing.
Sorry, T, I'm back. My internet was acting up, but I was still hearing you guys still on my phone.
Oh,
Yeah, I still
right.
heard everything that was going on. So my internet went down for a little bit,
I
but we're
kind of
back up
realize.
and running. Mm-hmm.
So we have to be aware. I was using the example of prodigal son.
Yeah.
See, the ego is that selfish guy who goes off on its own, pretending that it is self-existing. The ego is the selfish guy who leaves the flock, leaves the original, its original state of existence and goes off on its own.
Mhm.
I don't need the self. I can make it on my own. It is try to imagine what the tree happened to the tree if the tree decided one day that I don't need the root, I can go by the transplant over there without no root and go survive. It won't. That's what happens when the ego leaves the self. When the ego leaves off on its own, like the prodigal son did, bound to suffer until you come to yourself. Sure, you have to come back to the road. You can't survive. So, on today, the 22nd day of March, if we never know this before, we start to know now. So we are coming to self. We're coming to a self now. We are becoming selfish, not egotistic our whole life. All of us, none exempt from it. Now we are becoming the truth version of yourself. And what's your primary duty? Your primary duty is to humble the ego, embarrass the ego, point. Listen to me. It's when a man is an imposter, Sir Chris.
Mhm.
Like one of them guys would do tricks out that does magic out in the street. Tricks. If somebody is in the crowd that knows the trick and starts pointing it out, the magician have to depart that scene completely. He can't see this. He have to take for himself.
Yeah.
So now that you have found the ego to be the culprit, the pretender, the imposter in your life that is causing fear. Remember what I told you that the ego loves suffering. The ego wants you to suffer. It loves fear. The ego thrives on low vibrational things.
Mhm.
So the ego wants you to, it wants you to, and now that you found that enemy in you, you have to kill it before it dies. You don't, if you die your natural death while that ego is still raging inside of you, you have to come back and face it again. Because you
Mm.
will not stop coming back until you kill that ego. While you're here, you have to expose it. You have to, I know who you are. I know your trick, Mr. Magician. Take for yourself. So now you know that it's a pretender. The minute you wake up in the morning, all day, everything what you do is a pretender pretending to be you. False, fake. Everything what you see out there.
Mhm.
Yourself again the minute you fall asleep. That's the only time the ego shut up. Because the ego is trying to displace you. And you have to destroy it. Enough said, so Chris.
Yeah, you have to destroy it, or else it will destroy you. You don't know that you are a spiritual being first before you are physical, because we see ourselves in the mirror. And secondly, we realize that we are conscious, or we can think, or we have five senses, and we think that's how we are. So this is why, as you're saying to your point, Sir T, the ego rules um, you in this on this third dimensional construct, because you're not aware of the self. You're not aware of your higher self. You are not, even though you can never be separated or divided, because consciousness is all that there is. So you are always operating within the construct of consciousness, but ignorance to the truth keeps you vibrating low, keeps you in the egotistical mindset, as Sir T said. And so You try to will or try to force everything in that mindset, you know, because you can think, thinking is your birthright, your free will. But if you're not aware that there's a higher construct, a higher principle, you know, that does everything that you're desiring or unknowingly desiring, if you're not aware of that part of you, then you'll forever be suffering or be doomed to sin or to failure or to doing the same thing. You're going to be caught in a loop, repeating the same thing over and over. I'm not knowing why, because you hear people ask it all the time, why does this thing continually happen to me? And it's because, you know, you are not aware that in your conscious operation, you are giving direction to your higher self to carry out what you are being, in the conscious mind or in the egotistical mind. You are, you know, when I say you, I'm speaking generally, the general population. And, when we were not aware of these things we're talking about now, that's who we were operating as. And there are times when we do forget, when we do get caught up, and it's okay, so long as you're not dwelling in that state, to where it's going to be your outcome. It's just an attention for a minimal point or span. But sooner or later, it's like when you point a flashlight at something, if it stays there, you remain, whatever is there remains in your sight. But if you move it, it's no longer in your sight. So we've become good at using our awareness properly, wherein we know not to give attention to things we do not desire to experience. But it's okay to at least be aware of it and you know assess it for whatever time period and move on, because energy flows where attention goes, or where, I think the best way to say it, energy energy flows where attention stays. You understand? Wherever you stay in attention, that is where the energy is going to continually flow until it takes shape or take form of the thing in which you are attentive. Yes, sir. T.
Yes, sir. You mentioned that we will sometimes forget, even though we have now remembered
Mm-hmm.
full manifestation of our existence. That there's the self and then there's the ego. We've now remembered that, but because of the program that has been running in the background for so long, and because the ego is so persistent, listen to me, you will
Yeah.
never come upon another opponent that is likened unto your ego. Your ego will never give up. It will never give up. That's why you say, I died how many times? Daily. You have to
Ah,
kill, you have to kill that brother every day till him finally dead. You have to kill him. You have to kill him every day because he will not die easy. You remember one movie named Die Hard?
yes.
That's who it is. That's who it is. It will not die easily. So as a matter of fact, you will never completely kill it. You will never completely kill it because you can't be here in this game without it, because it is the character that plays as you. So you cannot completely kill it, but you have to humble it, tame it, let it become the servant, and know that it is the servant. Because right now your ego is your master. Right now my ego, let me not say yours. Right now my ego is my master. It's still mastering me right now. But you have to get to a point where you master that ego. put it in its place. Do not. So, Chris, remember yesterday evening, and I was telling you that I have labeled my ego. I give it a name.
Yeah.
The name that I give it is the name where everybody calls me. Greg. When you do that, you're separating the ego from the self. So I speak when I speak of Greg, I'm talking about the ego guy. And I am not afraid or ashamed to expose Greg because that's what we have been doing our whole life. What we've been doing our whole life is defending the ego, protecting the ego. That's what caused us to lie, you know. That's what caused you to lie. You're lying because you're trying to protect your image. The ego is the image of you. The true you can never be seen. The true you, the self of you is the immortal, invisible, only wise God. The true you is immortal and invisible. The figure that is presented, the image that is presented as you, that's the ego. And our whole lives we've been defending the ego, protecting the ego. You start to kill that ego when you stop defending it, stop protecting it. The pity party that the ego likes to keep, don't attend it. The woe is me, victim mentality. People are saying this and that about me, and that's ego. You do not participate in that and let it slowly die down. How do you turn away from the ego? There's only one way. You have to turn to the self. Every time the ego,
180.
correct, every time the ego comes upon you, you remind yourself of yourself. Remind yourself that, remember, you know, to show you that you're not the ego. Remember, you can observe your ego, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can observe it via the thoughts that are running through your head. Remember, I told you, the thoughts running through your head is your ego. You can observe the thoughts. So the mere fact that you can observe it, that tells you that you are not it. Because the observer and the observed cannot be the same thing. Observer and the observed cannot be the same thing. So the mere fact that you can observe your ego, that lets you know that you are not it.
Yeah.
As related as it might appear to you, it's closer than a brother, as closely related as it is, as it might seem to you. You are not it.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you know, you have to start separating yourself from it as far as the east is from the west. Not following your brother. Not following you. They'll start to come up in your head. Them Sir Chris, you don't know when we use the one Sir teach about you. No. Because guess what? Sir T can never say nothing at all about the real Sir Chris, the self of Sir Chris, because I don't know the self of Sir Chris. I can't talk about him. So if I say something about Sir Chris, I said something about your ego. And
Yeah.
now your ego is hurt. Don't follow it. And keep in mind why you mustn't judge the man who says something about your ego. That's also his ego that is speaking. That's not the real man speaking.
Mm-mm.
We are here in a egocentric world with egos battling against each other that lead. And remember, I told you that egos, what is the fuel that operates ego again? Fear. Fear. Ego thrive without fear. It's only in an environment of fear that ego thrives. So you have to now realize that we are living in a world, a fearful world. That's why all of the war, them man, all of them something they're going. Fear. Man, they come over this house, come take him land with him for iron. Fear. Ego's at work. Now that you know that you don't become a part of that because you realize exactly, say, it's just a movie that is playing out.
Mm-hmm.
That actors, characters acting. Don't hear Trump. Don't hear Trump. He's just playing a part. He's only playing a part in our movie where you help correct.
Mm. That's true, man. Uh, but the truth is tough to swallow, you know. It's a big pill, hard to swallow. So you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt, as them say, or break it up into pieces, and make it easier to digest. Um, wanted to, as we are talking about the ego, certainty, the ego is also known as person, a person, or the person. And that word, the word person, or the etymology of person, originated from the Latin word persona. We used to hear these two words, and we think they were different. Your persona, our person. But it's the same word. It's just one is a New English version without the A at the end. So the word person and persona are the same, and it means a theatrical mask or character in a play, which likely derived from the Etruscan Versu, which means mask, or Greek prosopon, or face. You understand? The word face and mask is the same thing. When them say your face, it's the same word as mask, are the same thing. The word face means mask, or vice versa. Okay? Um, it's just, and that's why everybody's face is different. So you can differentiate the different characters. What character are you playing? Oh, I'm playing Chris. You're playing Gregory. You're playing Mark. You're playing Devon. You're playing Janice. You're playing Charmin. You're playing all these different characters. But there's a mask that identifies you as that character or your persona. You understand? And that's why everybody them call a person. There's not one human being in the world that is not called a person. They are telling it to your face that we are all a mask. We are all the ego
So is a person.
playing a part in a world that is a play or a movie, but we don't know. Where's this RT?
You're nothing but a persona, a personality.
Personality, another word.
That's all. That's all. That's all you are.
Mm.
Actually, I think a mission that once you come to know this thing, where we have said this man, you never knew it before. I didn't always know it.
No.
What, Sir Chris, our mission daily should be simply this: unmasking the ego. That you
Hmm.
every day, everything that you do, unmasking the ego is more important than praise. Unmasking the ego is more important than praising God. Unmasking the ego is more important than paying tithes or attending whatever they must attend the church. Unmasking the ego is the most important thing you will ever do. You want to do yourself a favor and
Hmm.
unmask the ego. Expose the ego. Let the ego know that I know who you are. Mr. Three-Yard Man, I see your trick. You're quick in you're quick in take himself.
Hmm. Quick, quick. You know, I want to see you again. Because you find out the secret.
You find the secret, and that's the great secret is to realize that you are.
Mm.
See, we are here, we are supposed to be human beings. I was saying to you, Special Chris, and human in this term is YOU-MAN, being. And there is a man. The man is the ego, the you is the self. You're a you man being. But instead of being human beings, you're over here being ego beings,
Hmm.
meaning taking the you out of it completely and just being the man. We're taking the you out of it and we're just being the man. And the man cannot survive on its own. Remember what happened when the man left home and tried to survive on his own, the prodigal son? He must come back to himself. You have to come back to you. You have to come back to you. You cannot leave the you after the you man. You will have to return. It's not in this life, in some other life. If you don't kill that ego is gonna kill you, and you're gonna have to come back, and you're going to keep coming back, and the ego gonna keep killing you until you eventually kill it. When you want that, yeah, the ego must die, and it's something that is done. It now happen overnight. It is something that is done gradually, strategically. I die
It's
daily.
a process. You have to
Yes,
die, as I said, die daily. And John the
yes,
Baptist say, I must decrease
yes.
so that the Christ can increase. And what did scripture do? I say about John the Baptist that he was beheaded.
Of course.
You
That's how much
understand?
so you have to chop off your head completely.
Yeah. Because remember saying no, the word head means in control, means you are at the controls, you're the master. So how do you kill something from start being in control? You have to take out the head man, the head boss, the head honcho. You understand? The person who's in control or what is in control has to be decontrolled or taken out. You understand? Deconstruct it and put the right order in place. That is supposed to be known. We're not saying, everyone, that we're not saying that we should destroy the conscious mind. We're merely speaking symbolically that the conscious mind is always going to be the head, meaning always going to be giving directions or giving instructions to the subconscious or to your consciousness as a whole. However, what we're saying is the conscious mind must realize that it is not the 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 more
Mastermind.
powerful of the consciousness.
It's not the mastermind. Remember, Sir
It's
Chris, we had
not the mastermind.
remember we had stumbled upon this quote that said the mind, meaning the conscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
is a very faithful servant, but it's
What
a
a dangerous monster. Yeah.
yes. So that's what I'm saying now. That the ego, which is the conscious mind, you must turn that ego into a faithful servant of yours, not a master. If you make it be, and the only way to take the mastership out of the hand of the ego, because society already gave the ego mastership over your life
Mm-hmm.
before you had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Society, parents, everybody indoctrinate you into that already. Where the ego is has displaced you. You are now just emerging. The self is
Mhm.
just now emerging, trying to emerge. The ego has
Yeah.
been the whole time. The ego has been the master. You have to take that ego now and put it behind you and let it be the servant. Get
Hmm.
behind me, Satan.
Hmm.
Behind me, Satan. That Satan that have to get behind you is the ego. You know, and get rid of him completely. You need him,
Yeah.
but behind you, he's not the leader. He's not the master. He's the servant. Gonna
Yeah.
do. It's gonna do what you require of it to do, not having you do what it wants to do, and that has been happening your whole life. You've
Mm-hmm.
been doing what ego wants you to do. But now that you find out that the ego, I'm gonna play bass and want the boy Greg me call him.
the
Yeah man, the boy Greg, the original boy.
lower mind, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And when somebody, and this is something else that you do now. When somebody exposes the boy Chris, you don't defend him. You humbly take the correction. That's another way of humbling down the ego.
Mm-hmm.
And then your wife finds out you look at dusty a bit them. Don't defend Greg. Don't defend Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, even my wife walking in the house and said, Greg, with your shoes them on the carpet. You know, you know, say formally just to prove myself, even though I'm gonna take the shoes off. I would sit there for a minute and make it run off for a minute. Me go take off the shoes now, but I would sit there Because I was socialized as a man said. Man, you hear me, man, no woman are you alone like that, brother. So she said me about yes, me wrong, me have the shoes on for a pretty rug. And I sit down there watch basketball. And she come and she say just even circus. And the fastest shoes come off of my feet. I didn't answer. I didn't say me just take off the shoes off. No.
uh,
Now that we are killing the ego. Me know say my wife would have my and say, how you so quiet? How you so have to make
uh,
it
yeah.
I have
I,
to make it work.
I really thought, man. And that is when you become humble, as you said, when you humble the ego. Um, when you become even lower, you know, in terms of trying to become the one who's stronger or tougher or louder, and that's when you create peace or fluidity, the energy just kind of flow as it's supposed to, rather than being opposed, um, which will create conflict, So it's all about awareness, and we're coming to this awareness. Joseph Murphy alluded to it about the mind or the man. That's another name for man, mind. Um, the conscious mind is the husband, and the subconscious is the wife, and the subconscious is subjective are subjected to the husband. Now, religion or humanity has taken that to mean in the physical world that a woman should never open her mouth or should take orders from the man. It is only true in consciousness. It's not true in the everyday relationship between man and woman. So we're saying a man shouldn't order a woman around, or even vice versa. It's supposed to be a communication or relationship. You relate to each other on a level where it is free, flowing nice and easily. But if the man have the ideas, certainly like how you say, oh, we've been raised, that you're not taking no talk from a woman because you're hearing that the Bible say a woman, especially if she's your wife, should be subjected to the husband, to our man, and therefore not open our mouth or say anything disrespectful or what you consider disrespectful. And it is not so. What we're talking about here is in the consciousness realm, wherein the conscious mind always rules over the subconscious. The subconscious takes orders from the conscious mind and operate accordingly. You understand? That's how consciousness works. The conscious mind is the husband, the husband, the one who is organizing, designing the desire or idea that you become aware of, and the subconscious follow suit and bring it to being, you know. But it's not so in the real world. And that's what Sir T was saying. Right, Sir T?
Yeah, man, where the confusion came in,
Mm-hmm.
scriptures was written purely to relate to consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That was written purely as a mental book.
Yes.
It
Mind
church,
science.
yes, it was the church. The church are the first capitalist government.
Yeah, man.
The,
Absolutely.
the government of capitalism was not invented by any government when we claim prime minister. The church first. The church can capitalize on the
Mm.
by taking that mental book and making it into a religious book,
A physical book.
a physical book, and use it to control physical beings.
Mm.
So, because when the scripture now said that a wife is to be subjected to her own husband and keep herself quiet and don't ask nothing, don't say nothing. That not work in a real life.
Argument that.
Problem, you're mad. You know a woman, not gonna work.
No,
Shall
no.
shall never work in this natural life. And that's why the church and the system, that's why there are more divorces in the church than in the world.
Mm-mm.
Church is trying to tell the woman that she must shut her mouth. And that now work because the woman by design was not designed to shut her mouth.
Mm-mm.
The woman by design was not designed to shut her mouth.
No,
You
not at
understand?
all.
So what the church is really doing there is it is building up the ego of
Pretty
the
much.
man,
Yeah.
building up the ego of the man, and what it does in turn, it causes the woman to go in a overdrive with her ego.
Yeah.
The
Because she has
church
an
is
ego too.
exactly the church is what has built this egotistical world where you see we are living right here with things like those
Mm-hmm.
slave of master. Those things were not written talking about no man must obey no man. No, slave obeying your master is the subconscious mind obeying the conscious mind.
Yeah. And that's what we're talking about today.
Good. So we have to know in ourselves that it's two of us, all of us exist as two of us. It is your ego and it is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Never go against yourself. That's sin.
Mm.
Sin is going against yourself. Cannot work for you. Nothing good can never come after. Never go against yourself. Never follow your ego. Read it. Don't follow it.
That's a difference.
Big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Read it, don't follow it.
Scripture says it this way. I think it's Proverbs 3, verse 5, that you should lean not on your own understanding. And that's exactly what it is talking about.
Yes. The ego.
The
And
ego.
should not lean to it. Lean not on the understanding, the perception, the ways of the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the minute you find the ego, you must realize that that's public enemy number one. That's your who is also afraid.
Yeah.
That's enemy who
That's
is also,
that's the enemy within
yes,
the ego.
yes. You can never expel him and get rid of him. Mafia coexist with you. You have to calm him down,
You
tame
have to
him down.
discipline the ego. Yeah, it's all about disciplining your ego. Like yesterday's a good demonstration in SRT. I discipline you discipline your ego. Why you never said nothing to your wife, you know?
While I say, wow, why, oh boy. Because she come off a bit aggressive to it when she say, because I walk, she just walk out. So me, I watch my basketball, you know.
Yeah.
And this woman walking out. Greg, seriously, with your shoes on the carpet? Normally, like this, man, me wouldn't hold up me and look, man. Normally, me just down there watching the game and knowing myself by the time she come back out of the room, because she pass me in the living room and going out.
Yeah.
Me just sit down, see her, and by the time she come back out of the room, she have to say she would take off. But
Yeah.
I know how to take off my shoes in front of her face, as she say, I'm a boy. That's how the ego would have done. She would come off right in our presence, man. And I
Yeah.
need
Yeah. Yeah.
man,
We're not supposed to compete with each other. We're supposed to complete, you know?
sir.
It's a completion, but again, because we raise a certain way and a certain construct, we operate in that construct and how in how we were raised. Like, you know, but to your point earlier, certainly, the way in which we operate or was programmed to operate, the program is not who we are. And that's why we can change it. That's why you can change it because you're not the program. You know, the program was just who you were being and who people say you are. Like you say, the echoes that you heard, the names, the descriptions, the whatever that you attach yourself to and operate as it was never you.
All right. Another most important thing that we have to learn about ego is that the ego gets up every day. That's why you have to kill that brother there, man. I'm telling you. The ego gets up every day. Every hear them say, Satan, the Bible says Satan is the accuser of the brethren. Satan, is the accuser of the brethren. The ego
Mm.
up every day and accuse you. Labeling you, trying to tell you who you are. And it's the ego that wake up in the morning and tell us, yeah, man, you're sick,
Mm.
Yeah, man, you're broke. Uh, that's what the ego does. It gets up every day and it tries to label you. Never. Hold on one second. Make sure someone similar to that. Never ever believe nothing at all what the ego tell you. The ego is a liar. It
And I
is
think
a thief, man. It is the accuser of the brethren of the higher. All that the ego wants to do is to label you and tell you who you are. And whatever the ego is telling you that you are is never anything good because the ego thrives on fear and low vibrational frequency.
mm.
Ego is always pointing you in that direction, labeling you, telling you who you are and who you are not. Ignore it completely. It is your ego. All right.
Mm.
Even after you do whatever you do to lose some weight, and you had told yourself, let me use a female body, you had told yourself that when time I come down to 145 pounds, I'll look great. And 145, it's your ego in you that's telling you, so you're still not look good. It's your ego. Your ego will always lead you further than where you think you want.
Mhm.
Yeah. So don't listen to whatever your ego is telling you that you are. No, the ego can't label itself. The self is self-existing. The self was never born. That's why it's called the self. It is self-existing. No, God never created the self. The self of man was never born and can never die. Your body was born. Your body was born. Your consciousness was not born. Your body was born, and the ego was created by society. The ego is not real. Your body is real, but the ego personality is not real, none at all. It was created by a million different people. In you, it was downloaded in you by a million, and to show you how unreal the ego is. You can't point to where it began.
Mhm.
You cannot point to where the ego began. Like I said, the 6-month-old baby have no ego in it. The ego starts right around where you hear them start to lie. So when you hear them pick me start, I didn't know, mommy, I didn't touch the cookie.
Yeah, you're right.
Baby just learned to talk, you know, tell no lie neither. When the baby just learned to talk, he doesn't know how to lie.
Yeah. Mhm.
That ego started developing over a period of time. It's not real. But it's real. The self is self-existing, eternal. The body is not eternal. The self is eternal. The ego is an imposter. The
Mm.
ego is a pretender. It's an actor. Don't listen to our. Would you let something that is not real tell you? That's what you're doing when you let your
So,
ego do what to do and who you are. You're letting something that is not even real.
Yeah, when we watch movie, we consciously already know that the movie is not real. We know it's a play. We know it's an act. Even though our emotions get caught up in it, you know.
Yeah.
We cry, we laugh, we get sad, we get mad, angry, all these things. But after it finish, we're back to our normal selves. We don't even carry any
So Chris,
feelings.
my brother keep calling. This might be important. Let me
Okay,
grab.
okay. We don't carry any feelings when we stop watch the movie. Even though at the time we were mad, angry, sad, glad, you name it. Once it finished, there is no follow through with the emotions as we would do in our natural life, you know. And interestingly, the reason why in our normal life that we follow through with the emotions that we develop from the acting, as we're saying, wherein the ego is concerned, is because we're close to it. That's why we follow through with it. That's why we carry it, these feelings, these emotional attachments for years on end, because we are so close to it. You know, we are the author, we are the producer slash director, and we're the actor, all in one. And so we know that we've had the experience and we're close to it. It's the same way where, you might have heard that such and such pass, but you're not close to it to carry the same emotional attachment as that person's or those people's family members and whatnot, because you're not close to it as they are. But the minute it happens within your circle or to you, then it becomes something that you carry because you're close to it. Um, but at the same time, as we're saying here today, that we are really we are really actors. You know, we are really a mask, and therefore should not taken you know for reality. We should not be taken seriously. Nothing that we do should be taken seriously, because this is what keeps us attached to these things, and then we cannot change them or dissolve them because we become so emotionally attached to it, meaning that as we've been taught and we've now come to know, things remain in your world long enough or as long as you're conscious of them. Your consciousness is the life energy or the force that keeps these things alive in your world, meaning that it's either keeping the emotional state, whatever that state may have been, sadness, madness, anger, or even on the positive note, bliss, happiness, you know, serenity. It is your awareness of these things still that keeps that feeling or emotion. And as soon as you take away that attachment to that thing or those things, that is when it starts to die and becomes detached from you. You know, it's I mean, we've seen every in everything. If a tree is detached from the ground, the tree dies. But as long as the tree is attached to the ground, if it's even just a small vein, a small root that's still attached to the ground, that tree will still be alive. It's just not standing upright. But as long as it's in the ground, it's going to remain alive. It may not be getting all of its nutrients because it's only being supplied to one vein. But nonetheless, the tree will not die. It will stay there alive um, until it is completely severed, you know. And So we see this happen all the time. When a limb gets severed from the tree, the limb dies because it was all along being kept alive by the tree because the tree is rooted in the ground. So your awareness is what keeps everything attached to you, your awareness of that particular thing. And your conscious mind is the head of your awareness. And so this is why when we continually become engulfed into certain things, our behaviors, our experiences and stuff like that, we are too conscious of them. And once you're conscious of it, you are directing your consciousness toward that thing, which keeps it alive or keep it perpetual. It becomes a loop. And this is why the law of attraction is the culprit for that, because the law of attraction states that whatever you really, 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 really want, you will attract. But also, whatever you really, 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 really don't want, you will attract that too. Because it's not the want, it's the focus. You could be looking at something that you don't want to see, but are you not seeing it? Because you're focused on it. You cannot look at something that you don't want to see and not see it. That is the direct correlation between the law of attraction. You see something that you don't want to see based on your attention to it. And if you keep the focus there, it it stays in your perception. It stays in your sight. It stays in your sight until you take your sight away from it. So your attention, in terms of your conscious mind to things, is what is the measurement by which your consciousness, your absolute power, obeys or directs it's the energy towards it. Because your conscious mind is your, what do I call it? No, it is your spotlight, you know, that is spot on. It's connected to. It's a focus. It has a focal point wherein it is, in awareness of that particular thing. And your consciousness now magnifies the thing, meaning that it makes it more apparent. It was once something that was very small or not even that um easily seen, to the naked eye, so to speak. But because you're sustaining your attention to it, it became magnified. And the only thing that can magnify anything is the totality of your awareness. Your absolute being is what magnifies all these things. But it must see through the lens of the conscious mind in order to do that. Because the conscious mind is at the forefront. It's in the front. It is the bottleneck, so to speak, wherein whatever content is within inside that bottle, it can't get past until anywhere else but through the top, through that bottleneck. And it must take the shape or the size of the bottleneck. If the bottleneck is very small, the content can only come out as fluidly or as fast as the bottleneck allows. It will never come out any faster than that, even though that's what you want. You understand? So your conscious mind has to be disciplined in how you use your consciousness, because it's the measurement. A very important discipline to have when it comes to the conscious mind is your faith. Okay? The conscious mind is the mind that has to be faithful, not your awareness or the totality of your awareness. Consciousness is ever faithful. You understand? Consciousness is always faithful. That's all it knows, is to follow through with everything that you have become aware of. Very, very faithful. That's why, it is your helper in terms of bringing to into your world whatever you're desiring. It can only bring into your world whatever you desire because it is faithful, meaning that it does not give up unless you give up. It only gives up unless you give up, meaning you take away your attention from the thing that you desire. Either you did it on purpose, you don't want it anymore, or you became impatient and gave up, sever the attention. And therefore, who lost faith? Not the subconscious mind that is carrying out the way or the means and the how and the what of how to bring about your desire. It never gives up until you first give up. You meaning the conscious mind, meaning your focused attention to the desire that you have. So you see, the conscious mind must discipline itself to be to keep faithful or to sustain its faithfulness. You have to sustain it. It cannot be anything that causes you to waver in your faith. There's going to be all types of things that impede, slow down, um, even in some cases appear to stop, appear to go awry, appear to go in a direction um, adverse to the direction in which you were going, like a detour. But we all know that detour does not mean that you're not going towards the direction anymore. You just go in a different way. And sometimes the conscious mind takes that a, a as a no or a never, when it really saying not right now, later, the next time or the next step or the next week or the next step you're supposed to take. When they take that step, we will get back on track and continue. But the conscious mind takes any type of impediment or detour as a um, no or never, and so it finds itself giving up quickly or easily, or right before, in many cases, right before there's going to be a breakthrough, it gives up. It loses its faithfulness. And because of the law of attraction, if your faithfulness is severed, then you're going to attract the not having it. You understand? You're now telling your consciousness, oh, this is what you're attracting now. The lack of having, the lack of receiving, the lack of faithfulness to your desire, to your heart's desire. So it must return to you what you are always being, or what you, because when you give up, when you lose your faith and you give up, you have really you have now changed your belief from I believe I'm going to get it to I believe I am not. So you're always believing in something or believe in something. And this is why you always get what you are being or believing. Do you understand? Because your conscious mind is the measurement by which your desire, is going to come to you or not. It's the only, it is the gateway by which, your desire is going to go through or not, depending on where you are consciously at that particular time. If you are paying attention to the economy right now and you're not seeing opportunity, all you're seeing is despair, destruction, um, hardship, um, gas price high, and all these different things, you're going to hear people talking about. Everything gone up, everything raised up. If you're not aware that there are opportunities within this harmony or what appears to be um, some kind of economical strife or hardship, if you're not aware that in these times, this is when the rich get richer and the poor gets even poorer because of the consciousness in which you are abiding, in your conscious mind. If you are abiding in your conscious mind, as Sarti alluded to, with a bunch of fear, then your consciousness is going to produce more fear. When not gosa, it gosa, as we say. You understand? Even when it's not even true, in the real world, it is true to you because that is where you are abiding consciously. So you must pull into yourself, you must draw into your own experience whatever it is you're conscious of, especially if it's fear-based, because we tend to hold on to what we are afraid of more so than what we are in love with, which is very, very, very strange. But it's really conditioning. We tend to hold on to the things that we don't want to happen, but we hold on to the reality or the possibility that it can or may happen. It's always, as I say, in the back of our mind. So it must happen because the back of your mind is your subconscious mind. That's the mind in the back. So anything that you have planted there, if sustained in faith, if you're faithful to that apparent possibility, then one day it must rear its ugly head because it was always in your subconscious mind, you know, dormant until some emotional state, as what's going on right now, you become emotional about what's going on and you awake within your subconscious, this program that you've been holding on to in fear. What if we change that around and we have lying in our subconscious possibility of becoming rich, of becoming wealthy, of becoming um, prosperous. Let's use that word. And we're just waiting for the opportunity. If we rearrange our mind and always see chaos, always see economic hardship, if we rearrange that concept and know and recognize that it is in this time, even though it is unfortunate, because a lot of people are affected, but it is in this time that you are more prone to multiply your income. And it to the average mind, it would seem backwards and strange. Like, how is that even possible? Because when this hardship and stuff like this happens, there are going to be things that go down or gets devalued because of the situation or the circumstances at hand. Because why is that? Well, because of the fear, as Serti alluded to. Fear creates what do you call it now? It creates scarcity. Like you have this scarcity mindset, like well, this is I don't have enough. I don't have enough to spend. So I'm going to hold on to what I have because jobs are scarce right now. Our hours are scarce. We're not getting enough hours, or we're not making what we used to make. So I cannot spend as I used to. So when this fear or scarcity mindset comes in, where you shut down your spending, as the law of supply and demand, if you have low supply, you're going to have a high demand. And on the contrary, if you have a low demand, um, the price of whatever is available must go down because the demand is not high. So nobody's going to want to purchase anything. And that's when things go on sale because it's going to stay there and rotten or stay there and fall apart, or we're going to move this product. So the prices are going to lower massively just so that things can continue to move. You understand? So when the demand is low, price always go down. When the demand is high, price always goes up. That's the law of economics. It has never failed and never will. Always will be that. But when you're not aware of that, because your conscious mind is being programmed to pay attention to devastation and chaos and hardship, and you start to see the future as being the same, whatever that future is to you. Maybe it's 2 years from now, maybe it's 3 years from now, maybe it's the next 10 years. You, for some reason, you kind of see the rest of your life in some cases is going this hardship is going to continue. And so um, naturally you try to preserve and hold on to as much as you can for as long as you think you're going to need to until this thing gets back to normal and until the ship until the sea start becoming rough and the ship can calm itself down. But if we use what was demonstrated in scripture, when the disciples were experiencing the storm on the sea and they got afraid and they went to Jesus and wake him up and said, Lord, Lord, save us. The sea rough. We're going to die. And him said, also unfaithful, meaning that they don't realize that because this is the conscious mind now, the disciples who's watching what's going on the seas, what's going on in the economy, has become afraid and saying we're not going to survive. This is the end of the world. These are some of the things that people are literally talking about, not realizing that you have within you a higher self, you know, that can calm the seas. Because what's going on out there doesn't have to be what goes on within your own self, your own being, or your experience wherever you live or whatever you are involved with. It doesn't have to be that your experience and you're in the world, but you're not of it, meaning that you're not affected by it. You know, the sea rough, but you're in a part of the sea that is calm. Because when the sea rough and all that rough, it's not all of it. People decide to stay in that side, the rough side, because they don't see how they can escape it. But you have a powerful um, you know, self-existence within you that knows how to calm the seas, that disciplines the conscious mind. The conscious mind is really the sea that the scripture is talking about that got rough, that got flustered, that got afraid. Not talk about a real sea, the real water. It's always your conscious mind that is operating in limitation and see limitations, see lack, see scarcity, sees poverty, never focuses on being rich or prosperous because it always seems to direct its attention to what's in front of it and not what's beyond, what's on the other side. You understand? So, and these things, unfortunately, um, programs the subconscious. So as you're seeing these things through your conscious lens, it is reaching your subconscious mind, and the subconscious is saying, yes, I that you want, I that you want, I that they want. And it takes and accepts this as your final order, you know, or your final answer. And if once they say yes, yes meaning the persistent feeling of this being true, of this being your reality, your plight, you know, your outcome, and you cannot change it. Once you sustain that belief, that feeling, the subconscious mind says, your wish, your wish is my command. I'm going to give you what you're wishing, what you're sustaining in your mind as your reality, you know. So that's why we wanted to, focus more so today on this title. Your conscious mind is the measurement by which your consciousness obeys. Your consciousness obey whatever the conscious mind is entangled with, because your conscious mind is the head of your consciousness. All right? It directs your consciousness. It is the front wheel in the car. Wherever you turn the wheel, that's where the car is going to go. It cannot go nowhere else other than where the wheel is turned. The wheel is, in this sense, is the conscious mind. It is in the front of the vehicle. If you want to use a horse and carriage, wherever you direct the horses to go, that's where the carriage is going to go. And if you don't control these horses, they're going to gallop and run you off a cliff. You understand? Because you don't have them in control. You have to control your conscious mind. It is the undisciplined disciples. And the first one of those disciples is Peter. Well, Simon, which means hearing. You have to hear and discern what you're hearing. And if it doesn't match what your heart desires, then you discard it. If somebody tells you, why the world look like it go, and this is what scripture was talking about in Revelation, this is it. The world is coming to an end. If you entertain that nonsense, that rubbish, that garbage, then you're not going to move forward with your life. You're going to literally stand still, like Lot's wife, and be frozen, preserved, like a pillar of salt, right where you are, because now you're afraid, and you have bought in and accepted this rubbish, this lie, this controlling mechanism that has been used on humanity for decades and centuries and millennia. Been hearing this lie forever. And I'll know the world is still here. And people have died and has never accomplished what they were sent here to do. The richest place in the world is not Dubai or these places in the east or wherever. The richest place in the world are the graveyards because most people who have died never lived up to their potential. They died with all the talent that was given to them, their consciousness, you know, because of fear, because you're controlled by the outside rather than by your own consciousness that is within you, you know. So today's lesson is just to remain disciplined, firstly, from what you're hearing, because you're not going to see everything. We cannot see what's going on in the Middle East, but we can certainly hear it. That's why Simon is your first disciple to discipline, because you cannot see everything, but you will hear it. Okay? So you have to do what they say in Jamaica, see and blind and hear and deaf, meaning that whatever you see, don't believe it. And whatever you hear, don't believe that either. Like Sir T say, that's not you. I hear things. Assess it first. Does it match your principles? No. Well, discard it. Don't follow it. Lead. Go ahead of it. You understand? If you're ahead of it, that means it has to obey you. It has to follow you, your lead. You know, follow it. You don't go where it goes where you go. You remember the story where Jesus put the devils or the demons in the sheep, in the pigs, the swine, and send them off over the hill. You know, that's what you're doing. The demons are these negative concepts that parade within your own mind. You know, sever them and discard them. Put them in the swine. I think it was 7 swines, and get rid of them. Send them over the hill. It doesn't mean they shouldn't eat pork, as people say. Foolishness. It has nothing to do with what you consume in your body. It's what you talk is what you consume in your mind. This is all psychological. Okay? So if you're not supposed to eat swines, it's talking about psychologically, not physically. All right? And so the conscious mind must first know what it wants, what it desires, and you must condition or discipline your hearing. And once you do that, you start to discipline the others. You know, the Andrew, which is represents courage. Andrew is the brother of Simon, who was later surnamed Peter, because Peter means you have now become the rock. The word Peter means rock, the unmoved one. Okay? Nothing can move you now, meaning that nothing can scare you, nothing can frighten you. You see opportunity, you don't see destruction. You know, you unscramble or descramble what is being presented to you. All right? And that's why we're doing this particular topic today, to especially just to um, you know, process the time, process what's going on now the right way. We have to remain always remain aware. Like we said earlier, sometimes you get caught up, or you lose contract, you lose control, or you lose um whatever control you had, because you get caught up in all the foolishness that's going on. But you are able to catch yourself, and so you don't follow it, but you lead instead. Always be in the lead. That's what we're saying. Always be in the forefront. Never behind, never follow. Always be in the forefront. Make sure that's exactly what you desire, what you're getting. As long as it matches your heart's desire. Your heart's desire is your whatever you have desired, um, and you wholeheartedly, and you are emotional about it. Once you become emotional about it, or in the subconscious state, it is in your subconscious mind. It's become pregnant. That's your heart desire. Sustain the faith and don't give up, regardless of what's going on. I remember when I was buying my first house. That was the day that this so-called 9/11 happened back in 2001 when I was supposed to sign the contract. I still signed it because I was not concerned with what the hell was going on in the world. I still signed it. And there was a time when I used to believe that the world was going to come to an end in 2000. This was 2001. This was what, 9 months into 2001. And 9 months before that, which was 2000, the year 2000, there was a time when I believed the world was going to end in 2000 because I got caught up in all that nonsense. But at this particular time, I did not believe that anymore. And so even though the evidence was showing up that maybe the world wasn't going to end in 2000, but it's going to end now because look what's going on. And it's right after 2000. Maybe they were right. That never crossed my mind. It's 2026 now, and the world is still here. Okay? What if I had said, you know, seminar, brother, I'm going to just sell everything I have, which were people were doing, and just um, get baptized and give my life to God and all this foolishness. And the world is still here. I would have lost that opportunity to get my heart's desire, which was a house, all because I was in fear of a so-called world coming to an end. So but wonderful class today. We're gonna go ahead and end it here because we're a little bit above the time. But just want to thank you all for being here, for being here in attendance week after week, and continuing to develop our consciousness, our awareness, so we are always prepared. We are always ahead of whatever is to come. Matter of fact, we are deciding what is to come because our life is not pre-written, or we don't have a fate that we're supposed to meet. Okay, we create whatever fate that there is um, ahead of us. Okay, we're the ones who are creating that. There's no predestiny or predestined fate that was written prior to our birth. No, um, we are in control because we are consciousness. Okay, consciousness is always in control. But when you're not aware, that's when you're not, and you follow what the world tells you, and you become victim to that. All right. So love you guys. Bless upon yourself, and we'll be back again next week with another chapter on the one great I am awakening. I think Sir T got busy, but it was a great show today, great program today with both of us, you know, talking about this particular topic. So enjoy your day, guys, and the rest of your week. And we will see you again in the next 7 days. Peace and love. Over and out.